Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Raising the New Earth podcast. Hi, Noah.
Hey, Brooke.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Welcome. So today we thought it would be nice to do kind of a discussion on habits. So I actually had recently read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, and I don't think a lot of it was necessarily new information for me, but I think that the way that it was packaged was just really a good reminder and just kind of allows you to really think about how small habits can really move the needle forward very much. I think that oftentimes when it comes to any sort of goal, whether it is around our health or anything else, we often can get a little bit consumed by this whole larger picture. And while it's great to have like a vision and a focus of where we want to go, it's really coming back to those small little habits that become almost automatic or do just become automatic. And that's really what can move us forward and get us to the place that we desire to be. So we just thought it would be great to have kind of a discussion around that. So Noah, I'll kind of, start with kind of the question to you as far as like habits, what do you feel in your life you've seen that is helpful for you, in using habits to move you forward, but also in what you use like for your clients and working with them to develop those habits?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. So just like you, I read James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, just recently before, while I was prepping for the podcast. Well, my husband read it a long time ago and kind of liked it. And like you said, it wasn't anything new, but the way that it was presented was very clear. And I felt that habit stacking and the four stages to change that, James put together in the book are really palatable, to a point where he says that everybody wants transformation. And it's true when it comes to nutrition, everybody wants the magic pill, Cue forward to Ozempic. Everybody wants that magic pill, but we all kind of fail to realize that small habits and little choices are already transforming us every single day. So as a nutritionist, I see clients that want to, lose that 60 pounds. Or myself, as I'm doing my doctorate and PhD, I'm like, I can't think about the next 3 years. I have to think about what I have. I have a big board, course by course. Within that course, I write down in marker the modules that I need to go through, and I cross it out day by day, well, however long it's going to take me, so it's more palatable. And for those that want to lose weight, or when I had to lose weight after having babies, 75 pounds almost in each pregnancy, was okay, I'm going to focus at 2 pounds at a time. 2 pounds at a time. I'm not going to focus on 75 pounds or 60 pounds, however, I'm going to focus on 2 pounds. And what he mentioned in his book is that celebrate small victories. So I encourage my clients to celebrate even non-scale victories. So if they didn't lose those 2 pounds, how did they feel today not eating as much crap food as before? How much energy did they have today to play with their friends or their children or whomever they choose to hang around with? So these are little feedbacks and wins along the way to achieving that long-term goal.
Yeah, and I think especially when it comes to things like weight loss, when we put this like number on the scale, we get so caught up in the number. And I think that this can go for any sort of goals too, like even professional goals, like getting a promotion or something like that, that one, I think that we don't appreciate like the small things that it takes to get there. And also kind of like you were saying, the recognition of the progress within that and the journey within that. And that when we break it down and look at the action steps that will take us to get to the weight, then we can celebrate the action step itself and not wait until we're like at this dream goal weight and celebrate then. Because and like you said, we've kind of potentially lost the power of the journey and understanding what it took to get there. I mean, just like sometimes, people lose weight and then they don't appreciate all of that work in the sense of like habits, things that are now a part of their lifestyle that they can often kind of backslide, or a promotion, thinking that it's going to get us kind of to this certain amount of like respect and recognition, and not really recognizing like the actual progress and the steps that we took within that. And, I think that and I don't really think the book lays this out, but just kind of thinking through it now, like I feel like those small little habits allow us to appreciate the moment as it is. And like, I'm really huge on like just coming back to the present and coming back to what it is in the moment that you can take. And so I think there's definitely like a line, a line between those as far as like the small habits and being present to those. I think that you mentioned habit stacking. And to me, I feel like that was, and understanding it in that way is probably, to me, one of the most like powerful, tangible things that you can do for like whatever goal it is that you're setting, and taking it into the like nutrition and health realm, like, for something like going on a run or like doing any sort of exercise. What do you already have in place that you do every morning that you can then just automatically know that once you do that habit, then it's time to go for your run? So maybe it's that you feed the dog or, brush your teeth or something in the morning, but it's like, that once you've done that, then it becomes almost automatic. Like, now's my exercise time. So I think that the less decision you can put into when you're going to do something, how it's going to get done, that automatic, like autopilot place is where you're going to see the success of being able to do the habits.
Yeah, and that differentiation with the 4 stages, I really like it. So he talks about that there are 4 stages to change. There's the noticing, the wanting, doing, and the liking. So for the noticing one, he says that research shows that people, yes, they lack clarity, but not so much motivation. So they want to feel like whatever XYZ, but instead we need to state to ourselves, we need to stay committed to how are we going to get to that XYZ, when, where, and then we need to implement the habit, as opposed to waiting to feel like exercising or going for a run or taking that yoga class. So that was part of his first stage. The second stage was wanting. And it's true, it's the fact that our physical environment really influences us. And things that we have in front of us are things that we're going to do, partake, or munch on, I would say, for those that want to lose weight clients. But you don't have to be the victim of your environment, the victim of that, Cheetos in front of your face. You can be the designer of it. So specifically for nutrition, I would say, if you want to lose that weight, stop buying the garbage food. Out of sight, out of mind. Just don't buy it and make it your occasional thing. If you want to take on, guitar, put your guitar in the middle of the living room so you'll see it every single day. So that was the second stage. And for the doing, it's the optimizing of the starting line, not just the finish line, which we talked about it. Like, yes, in 3 years, I'm going to be there. But what classes do I need to take? What mindset do I need to embrace? What seminars do I need to attend in order to get to the XYZ? What classes do I have to take? Make the effort, get up, get dressed, and go to the gym. And then the last thing was the liking. It's bringing rewards to the present moment, not just when we actually finish the race. And again, there's no race to finish. It's all metaphorically. We'll never finish what we need to finish, but we need a plan to implement and habit. And this needs to come with consistency and repetition. So he said, like, the goal is not to read the book, but become a reader, not to write a journal, but become a writer. And these are, once you change your habits, you truly change your identity, which I thought is marvelous, right? The goal is not to run a marathon, but to become a runner. So how do we do that? Right? When someone, like we said, like if someone says, uh, I want to be able to run, to do trail run, like with Brandon that we had on our podcast. So I need to make sure I'm committed to running so that the action of to run becomes my identity of a runner, right? Which I thought
Yeah.
it's brilliant.
Oh yeah. I think that is like one of the huge to me, if there was anything that like I really, really, it was like a huge aha, I think that that is huge. The idea of I'm going to go run versus I am a runner, and the power that is held within those two different statements is vastly different. And I can't remember if it was that book or if it was another one, but they actually did a study where they asked if people were going to go vote. Like,
Oh,
are you gonna go vote? But if you put the question as them being a voter, like as a voter, who are you going to vote for? They're the likelihood that they would actually show up when you pose their question as already being a voter, it was I can't remember what the numbers were. I should have jotted it down, but it was exponentially higher. So it just shows how much power. I think that sometimes we get tripped up, like, to be a runner, that it has to be like, oh, that we've like finished all of, this many miles, or there's some sort of like arbitrary idea of what that needs to be. But what he's saying and what is so powerful is that no, before you even put on your running shoes and decide, the decision that you've made to go for a run makes you a runner. So identify with being a runner. And yeah, I mean, that is beyond powerful, because even it's like what a runner lay in bed, rather than putting his shoes on and going for a run. It sounds subtle, but there's so much power. And like, I'm a runner, and so I go and put my shoes on and go for a run every morning. Yeah, that's to me, it's just such a mindset shift, and it's just really like embodying the entire decision of who you want to be moving forward. That is super powerful.
exactly. And we need to remember that patterns, changing patterns does not happen overnight, right? So, and the results that you may want to see may not be right now, but you going to the gym every day, you may not see those biceps or the definition in your arms or wherever right away, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening. So you have to keep going, and that's where it comes to the motivation, and where it comes to, okay, what do I need to do today that I can put a check mark next to it and know that I did it, so I took a step towards my goal. But waiting on the couch and expecting things to miraculously appear or change, it's not going to happen. You have to be an active participant in your own health journey and wellness.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the point of going to the gym, and this was also another thing he brought up in the book, but oftentimes say like you're going you go to the gym when you're going home from work, but you're super tired from the day. You're like, oh my gosh, to work out my normal hour or whatever, that sounds exhausting. But if you can like reframe it to like, I don't have to stay there an hour. Like, just get in the gym
Right.
and do a minute. Like, I'm just going to go to the gym and do 1 minute on the treadmill. But what's amazing, what happens is oftentimes, once we've made that effort to actually go to the gym, get ourselves dressed, and do that 1 minute on the treadmill, guess what?
Right.
We want to keep going. And if not, it's okay. You still haven't broken your habit, which is just to go to the gym after work. Like, it's, like some days we're going to feel like we can do more than others. That's okay. But it's the showing up that
Yeah.
matters. Yeah. And
100%. I can't tell you how many times I was in my car, literally parked in front of the gym, and I decide which classes I want to take. And currently, I take different classes than I did before. But I'm like sitting there convincing myself that I don't need to go to the gym today. And I'm dressed, I am ready. I left the house literally parked in front of the gym. There's not even the excuse of parking too far, whatever that is, nothing. And I'm hearing my little voice saying, you don't have to work out today. Go grab coffee or go grab something. I was like,
Yeah.
no, I'm going to show up, even if I have to stare at all the machines. I'm going to show up and see what happens. And like you said, showing up changes the game. And I'm doing the class. And if I really hate it, I leave in the middle, but it rarely happens.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Another place where that can be really powerful and I've used is because I'm not a super morning person. But it's amazing when I get up and like do things. And I have to say it's still not a habit. And so I need to implement all of this for this particular
All of
thing.
us.
But yeah, but like, what about putting your clothes right by your bed, and when your alarm goes off in the morning and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to get up and go do my workout or whatever I'm planning to do, just focus on, okay, I'm just going to get myself up and put these clothes on that are right by my bed. And then if I still feel like going back to bed after that, then fine, but like, let me do that. And then it's like the chances of, once you go and just put the clothes on, of you going back to bed, it's slimmer and slimmer and slimmer.
Sure.
But a lot of times we have to, trick our mind in a sense to, you just have to do this one little small thing. And then you can make the decision to stop if you need to stop. But chances are you're going to keep moving on to what it is. Yeah.
Totally. Like if I put workout clothes first thing in the morning, I know I'm going to move my body a lot more than if I were to stay with my PJs or put clothes that I wouldn't, be caught up seeing in. So
Yeah.
it's absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was there any other like huge takeaways from that book, or anything else like habit wise that you
I mean, the idea that this book offers a framework for getting 1% better every day is mind boggling. Because you can, like, there's infinite possibilities, as quantum medicine teaches us, as consciousness teaches us. This is what we can be and become whoever we want to if we just put that 1% each day. So like you said, if you show up at the gym and you don't really feel like working out, guess what? You're already on your way to becoming something else, something that you want to be. If you don't buy that junk pizza, convincing yourself that this is what you need to celebrate a victory of some sort, you're already on your way to being that, healthier human beings. And that's why for me, like for my clients, I always tell them, treat, don't cheat, and find other ways to celebrate your wins, not by feeding yourself crap food if their goal is weight loss, but go get a mani-pedi, go get a massage, go buy yourself something that will feel like, kind of you're spoiling yourself a little bit. So that habit, like you said before, their previous habit of treating themselves for something they did right. A mother gives her child a cookie to either stop that child from crying or make them feel special. How would that child grow up to not having that dessert as a reward for something that they are feeling or not feeling at that moment? It's almost impossible. So breaking that pattern and doing things differently, and we talked about it in one of the episodes, I don't remember which one, is very important. I see at our kids' school, I see parents showing up with a ton of candy during birthdays. To me, that's not a celebratory act. So I always say, non-candy reinforcement. I don't want my children to grow up thinking, oh my God, it's my birthday, so I can. No, how about treating your body better? And, I do like little post-school pick-me-up things. So I'll do berries or I'll do whatever fruit I have at home. I'll cut that and I'll put a little bit of, semi-bitter chocolate chips, or I'll do that. Like I'll give them a sense of, but I will never go and buy, Kit Kat or whatever, or Cheez-It, whatever there is to say, hey, you did great. Let's celebrate with an ice cream. It doesn't exist in my vocabulary at all. I don't celebrate that with ice cream. I actually celebrate that with going to a proper meal. And then after, If they choose to have ice cream, then we may do that, but that's not going to be my first to go to. I don't want them to have that pattern imprinted in them for their,
Yeah.
long-term wellness.
Yeah. And I think that's where when you are as an adult, like looking at kind of these patterns, and particularly in that instance, like an eating pattern, it's getting that awareness that really, like, you may think you have no control over your situation, but to think of it, it's just like anything else, it's a habit.
Right.
And so I think that often we kind of over identify. It's kind of the reverse, right? Of like, the being a runner, I am a runner.
Yes.
That can work also in the reverse, where if you're over identifying with, yeah, well, I'm a big junkaholic, so
Right.
you're
True.
identifying with that. Break that identity. You're not a junkaholic. You just have a habit of reaching for junk when you're stressed or you're tired or a little of both, or you need a pick me up. So it's like it's that same things of all that we've just talked about, but in the reverse of like the negative habits. How do we get out of those? And so, the first step would probably be to not identify with it, but
Mm-hmm.
that it's just a habit that you need to break. And then, like you were saying, like what can you replace? What can you do instead? You've brought the awareness in. So you're stressed, you want to reach for the cookie. You know what? I'm going to go for a walk instead. And then you do that and you do that over and over. And then all of a sudden, guess what? You've changed your behavior. So I think that, yeah, that's like the perfect, it's just that habit in reverse, which I know that they talk about a bit in Atomic Habits as well, but just remembering that you can build habits and you can also break down the habits that you don't want to demonstrate. And both are equally powerful in changing the trajectory of where you want to go.
Yeah, and same with we talked about, labeling. Same with labeling. You're not your diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
I like you said, I'm an alcoholic. I am whatever. I have anxiety. All that I am or I have. This is not part of your identity at all. This is just a stacking of habits that have led you to the diagnosis of having, being diabetic or being anxious. Or so now let's break the habits that have led you and made you come this far, break it down, pull them apart, and what can we do in order to change to, let's say, anti-inflammatory diet. So he actually gives an example in the book for, like, if someone wants to become vegan, just for an example. So he breaks it down to 5 stages. So let's say you have a client that says he wants to become vegan, or a friend. So the first phase would be start eating more vegetables at each meal. That would be the first phase. The second phase would be stop eating animals with 4 legs, cow, pig, lamb, etc. Third stage would be stop eating animals with 2 legs, chicken, turkey, and so on. Phase 4, stop eating animals with no legs, fish, clam, seafood. And phase 5, then you stop eating all animals altogether. So in those stages, this is the habit stacking of you becoming what it is that you choose to become. It can be the same thing, if you want to wake up super early, then you make sure you come back home by a certain time. And then the next phase would be going to bed a little earlier, then the next phase. And so slowly but
Mm-hmm.
surely you are giving your body an opportunity to switch and change and divorce old patterns that don't serve you in that new goal that you have established for yourself. So it needs to be, it can be instantaneously, because I think that when our mind is not caught up with our body or what is going on, it's easy to fail, right? Like if I were
Mm-hmm.
to say, oh my God, I want to be, 60 pounds lighter, and instantaneously I'm 60 pounds lighter, I haven't retrained my brain how to deal with that. So, what are the eating habits of someone that weighs 140 or 150 pounds would be completely different than someone that weighs 200 or 220 pounds, completely different. So you got to make sure that your mental health, your psychological brain, and your body are all, on the same train. They're all hopping the same train of your wellness. And plus,
Mhm.
if you want to keep motivated for the long term, you can't just see thing instantaneously. You have to unfortunately work for it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And it goes back to that idea that like, if you are going to jump in or try to do this quick fix thing, most likely whatever you've done is not going to stick because you haven't given
Right.
it that opportunity to become a habit. So your chances of backsliding are even that much more. So, therefore the power of habit in literally changing who we are
Yeah.
is is um is super powerful. I loved he also gave an example of a airplane, like that if an airplane goes off from New York and it can be just like the slightest bit of a difference in a different direction, like a less than 1 degree,
Mhm.
can change if the airplane is going like, I don't even remember where it was, but way down in Africa or something. Or if we say in the US, like way down, Southern California versus way up in Washington. So it just shows like over time that 1% gets you further and further and further from where you want to be. Or gets you closer to where you want to be. So it's powerful. It's that incremental or exponential, I should say, the small change leading to exponential results, because that one change stacked on every single day and then leading to a bigger change, and a bigger change is what's going to get you to where you want to be.
Yeah. And he gives one exercise to notice what it is that holds someone back. He calls it the failure premortem. And he says, if you close your eyes and you envision yourself 6 months from now, and you need to imagine that you have failed to achieve whatever your most important goal is, and then you need to write the story of how it happened, what caused this to fail. And he attaches it with the noticing, which is the first stage of change, so that you won't do that, but you will write down other steps to doing what it is that you want to do. And I thought this is really empowering exercise to envision yourself failing and writing down why did you fail. And it's easy to think, okay, I didn't do this enough. I didn't do. So these are exactly the habits you need to do in
Oh,
order to not
yeah.
fail.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like not recalling that, but that is I that's huge. And because like sometimes too, you think like, okay, I have this big goal. I don't know what the steps are, but if you
Right.
can take the reverse of that and really envision it and like, okay, I failed. What is it that I didn't do? Like yeah, that's really cool. That's powerful for sure.
Yeah. And that delayed gratification that he keeps repeating, he said it's so important. It actually, delayed gratification is also connected to people that are less likely to become alcoholic, less likely to become drug addicts, because they're not looking for that quick hit, that quick
Mm,
dopamine hit that will get them to where they want to feel right now. And so that long term delayed gratification is actually more beneficial to people's health and achieving their goals.
yeah. Yeah. Well, and with that too, I think and I think perhaps like people personality wise, because I feel like I know people who's just like they always want like the net, and like it's like that instant. So I do think that it can be part of your personality, but it's also one of those things where you don't have to identify with that. And like maybe you are more of a person that really craves that instant gratification, but like find ways where something small, can give you some sort of, even if it's a made up, gratification. And he talked about that even some too. Like, what if you maybe you watch TV every night
Mm-hmm.
for half an hour? Like, give yourself something to do right before then, like so that TV watching for half an hour becomes your reward for something else. So, I think it's everything always comes back to like that what we identify with is where our power lies. And so, you were just talking about the powerful of like the I am statement. And it's so true that like whatever you put after that I am statement is powerfully you. And guess what? You get to choose what it is that you put after that I am statement. So yeah, it's just, it's powerful that it all comes back to like the identity of who you are and finding those little hacks to where you can make yourself, where that identity is proving true for
Right.
you.
And it's important to give ourselves grace. Like I have many clients that are, and me included, that used to be all or nothing. It's either I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna do the whole thing on my list, all 10 or 20 things. And I used to have lists over lists over lists that I had to dump out the window because it held such stress to my life that if I didn't finish that list for the day, I used to get mad at myself. And so I have replaced those lists for me personally to what I would prefer that would happen today and my non negotiable. So for me, non negotiable is trying to work out 5 times a week. How do I make it non negotiable? I joined a class that if I don't show up, one of the classmates texts me, "Hey, are you okay? Because I noticed you weren't here at the workout class." It's like a park
Yeah.
workout class. And that holds me accountable, right? As opposed to being, and if I don't go one day, for example, today I didn't work out, I didn't find the time to work out, and I'm okay with that. So instead, I sat down in front of the TV and watched a Netflix movie. Why? Because I'm also aware of my mental health, and I'm aware of me not needing to push myself to the limit, but on the contrary, be kind to myself and know that today is just not going to happen. And it's okay
Mm-hmm.
because you know what? Tomorrow it will happen. And the day after tomorrow it will happen. So today it didn't happen. Let me enjoy this day. How do I enjoy this day? Not that by blowing off my, weight loss journey, but actually, thinking about something else, finding good music, on Spotify. I don't know, whatever it is that I feel is going to make me feel good will make me feel better and ready for tomorrow. So that's on the other side of the coin. I feel that the masculine energy is really demanding of what's his name? Hoggings, Dave Hoggings. I'm like, you're going to do it. You're going to, da, 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 da. No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no. And I'm not about that. I was there, the whole thing, but I'm more about go make you. I'm going to hold you account as your coach, as your nutrition. I'm going to hold you accountable towards what it is, your transformation in action that we learned, with Dr. Zach Bush. I'm going to hold you accountable to that one fun, actionable step that you're deciding to take upon yourself this week. And the rest, you got to give yourself grace because you
Mm-hmm.
see that mental uh, instability, almost mental challenge for people to give themselves that compassion. They're lacking compassion, and that creates a really huge discord within their organs, within their body and their chakra system. So that's something that I would say you got to really know yourself and give yourself that grace, give yourself that break. You don't have to do it. Do it the majority of the days, but you don't absolutely have to do it today if that's not something that you feel like you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that that's where like just the muscle of self-awareness can really come
Right.
in, because I think that, it's like the habit is important, like in like actually doing the automatic thing. But it's also, like you said, like knowing yourself enough and trusting yourself enough to, if you if you're sick or you need a rest, you just know that you need a rest, but you trust yourself that, you're not telling yourself a story around it. You're not over identifying with the idea that you are giving yourself a rest, that you're just picking yourself back up once you feel better and feeling good. But I mean, it's so interesting because it's like what comes first. And so I
Right.
do think, as we were talking about, like if you're constantly giving yourself those excuses or those ways
True.
out, like you've got to have that awareness of like, no,
True.
let's find like that 1 minute. Like it's okay. You don't have to be the gym for half an hour, be there for 1 minute. So it's like, I think, yeah, it's like you have to bring that awareness into yourself. And that's where I think the greatest journey of all times is to just continually get to know yourself and bring in that light. But it's also, very yeah, so it's like you're never going to give yourself a disservice from bringing that awareness in, because the more you get to know yourself and trust yourself, and I think that comes from building the habits and building the identity around who you want to be, that allows you to have that self-trust for when
100%.
yeah.
Yeah. So self-awareness is key. And we do hope that you've gained some tips on how to stack your habits and be in a better place to becoming who you truly want to become. Okay. So we'll see you next week, Brooke.
Yes, see you all next week.
All right, you guys. Bye.
Bye.